The sirens cut through the night air in downtown Atlanta. A routine traffic stop. That's what Captain Richard Hale tells himself as he steps out of his squad car. He's been on the force 20 years, and nothing about tonight feels unusual. Except the way he carries himself, chest puffed, voice already sharp before he even approaches the vehicle. Inside the car sits Danielle Carter, a black woman in her late 30s. She had just left a long meeting at City Hall, her suit jacket folded neatly on the passenger seat, her ID badge tucked away in her purse. She is tired, focused only on getting home. But now flashing lights dance across her windshield. Hale raps on the window. "Step out of the vehicle," he barks, no explanation given. Danielle lowers the glass halfway. "Is there a reason you stopped me, officer?" Her voice is calm, professional, but Hale hears only challenge. He slams his palm on the roof. "I said get out!" People on the sidewalk pause, sensing something is wrong. Phones appear, cameras begin recording. Danielle takes a breath and complies, stepping out carefully. Before she can speak again, Hale grabs her arm roughly. "Think you're too good to follow orders? Let's see how you like this." In one swift motion, he shoves her against the hood of her own car. The metallic thud echoes down the block. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Someone shouts, "Hey, she didn't do anything!" Danielle winces, her cheek pressed to the cold metal. She keeps her voice steady. "You're making a mistake." But Hale doesn't listen. His ego swells with the attention, the power of domination. "Mistake? No, lady. You people think you can mouth off and walk away. Not on my street." The phrase, "you people," catches on video. Murmurs surge through the onlookers. One man yells, "That's racist!" Phones keep filming, the glow of screens capturing every second. Danielle exhales slowly, her mind racing. She knows the truth. Within 48 hours, this captain's world will collapse, because the woman he just slammed against a car is Atlanta's newly appointed police chief. Her swearing-in ceremony is scheduled for the very next morning, but in this moment, she says nothing. She lets the scene play out, because arrogance always exposes itself best under a spotlight. "Hands where I can see them!" Hale shouts, twisting her wrist. "I'm complying," Danielle answers, her tone even, almost clinical. "You're escalating unnecessarily." The crowd grows restless. "She's not resisting!" someone yells. A teenager's live stream surges past 10,000 viewers in minutes. Comments flood in. "Classic racist cop. She's so calm, wow. This guy's career is over." Hale smirks, oblivious. "Resisting arrest, failure to comply, you're going downtown." Danielle finally turns her head enough to look him in the eye. "Captain Hale, I strongly suggest you reconsider your words." He laughs mockingly. "Oh, so you know my name? What are you, some lawyer? Gonna sue me?" She doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. Tomorrow, he will stand in uniform as she is introduced as his superior, his chief, his boss, and every second of this assault will already be viral. Police backup arrives, sirens blaring. Two officers step out, confused to see their captain pinning a woman in business attire against a car while a crowd records. One officer hesitates. "Captain, is everything okay?" "Arrest her," Hale snaps. But the younger officer looks uneasy. "On what grounds?" "Don't question me," Hale snarls. The crowd jeers louder. "She didn't do anything." "You're on camera." The live stream hits 50,000 viewers. Hashtags already trend. Hashtag racist, captain, and hashtag justice. For her, Danielle straightens as much as she can under his grip. Her voice, calm but commanding, cuts through the chaos. "Release me, now!" Something in her tone shifts the air. Even the younger officer notices, glancing between them. "Captain, maybe we should—" "Quiet," Hale roars. "I run this shift." But the world watching knows better. Danielle Carter has remained composed through every second, her dignity intact while Hale's arrogance unravels on camera. Tomorrow, the reveal will shake the entire department. But tonight, the stage is set. Phones keep recording, voices keep rising, and arrogance digs its own grave in the glare of flashing lights. Because in less than 24 hours, the man barking orders will learn the truth. The woman he just brutalized is his new chief, and justice is already rolling toward him like thunder. The flashing lights paint the street in red and blue, but what truly illuminates the night are the raised phones. Dozens of angles capture every second. Hale's hand crushing Danielle's arm, the slam against the hood, the words, "You people." By midnight, those clips will spread across Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. For now, the crowd grows bolder. Let her go, someone shouts. You're on camera, Captain, another warns. Hale ignores them, sweat beading on his forehead. He thrives on dominance, on the performance of authority. In his mind, this is control. To everyone else, it's abuse. Danielle remains calm, though her cheek burns against the cold metal. She knows the strength of silence. Every word Hale spits is another nail in his coffin. Finally, she speaks. I'm not under arrest. You have no probable cause. Release me. Her voice is low, professional. It carries weight. The younger officer steps forward, uneasy. Captain, maybe we should double-check. Don't second-guess me in front of civilians, Hale snaps, fury flashing in his eyes. The officer freezes, torn between obedience and conscience. The cameras swing toward him. Viewers online type frantically. Why doesn't the rookie stop it? He looks scared. Danielle exhales, centering herself. Just a few more hours, she thinks. Tomorrow she will not need to remind anyone of her authority. It will be announced on the front steps of police headquarters. The crowd swells. Horns honk as drivers slow to watch. Someone yells, "She's dressed like a lawyer! What are you doing?" Another voice rises, "That's assault!" Still, Hale pushes harder, pressing her against the hood. "Quiet," he snarls. "You'll regret mouthing off to me." Danielle tilts her head slightly, her voice cool as steel. "No, Captain. It's you who will regret this." The words hang in the air. The crowd murmurs, sensing something deeper behind her tone. And then it happens. The moment arrogance tips into freefall. Hale slaps the cuffs on her wrists with exaggerated force. Phones zoom in. Gasps ripple through the crowd. "Unbelievable," someone mutters. Danielle doesn't resist. She straightens her back as much as possible, even with her wrists bound. Her dignity is intact, unshaken. Meanwhile, the live stream explodes online. Within minutes, hashtags climb. Hashtag racist, Captain Hale, hashtag justice for her. Comments flood in. She's so composed. He's finished. Where are the other officers? At precinct headquarters, night shift dispatchers notice the trend. A sergeant clicks a video link, watching in disbelief. Is that Captain Hale? His partner nods grimly. This is going to blow up before morning. Back on the street, Danielle is escorted toward Hale's squad car. The crowd erupts in protest. She didn't do anything. Let her go. Police backup struggles to contain the chaos. As Hale pushes her inside, Danielle's eyes lock on the young officer again. She speaks calmly, even through the open window. Remember this moment. Tomorrow, you'll understand who I am. Confusion flickers across his face. He glances at Hale, then back at her. Something doesn't add up. But before he can ask, Hale slams the door shut. The car pulls away under a storm of boos and camera flashes. Inside, Danielle sits tall despite the cuffs. She studies Hale's rigid posture, his jaw clenched. She doesn't reveal the truth. Not yet. Timing is everything. You think you've won tonight? She says softly. But arrogance always ends the same way. Hale scoffs. Save your speeches for court, lady. You're about to spend the night in a cell. She doesn't answer. Instead, she gazes out the window at the trail of lights, the crowd fading behind them. She knows the truth. By dawn, she won't be in a cell. She'll be standing at a podium, cameras flashing, as the city introduces her as their new chief of police. And when that announcement is made, every video of tonight will already be viral. At that exact moment, in living rooms across Atlanta, people scroll through their phones. Clips of the incident spread like wildfire. Outrage grows. Comments pour in. Who is this woman? She handled it like a boss. This captain is done. By the time Hale parks outside the precinct, his career is already collapsing. He just doesn't know it yet. Danielle steps out, cuffs clinking. She holds her head high, each step measured, her silence louder than any protest. Officers at the desk glance up, startled to see their captain dragging in a woman in professional attire, her poise unshaken. One whispers to another, "She looks important." Tomorrow, they'll realize just how important. Tonight, arrogance thinks it has the upper hand. Tomorrow, arrogance will learn the truth. And justice will stand taller than ever. The precinct lobby is quiet except for the squeak of Danielle's heels against the tiled floor. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting an unflattering glow on everything. But Danielle walks with the calm dignity of someone who already knows how this night will end. Captain Hale marches her to the desk, puffing his chest like a man parading a trophy. "One female, resisting arrest, failure to comply," he declares. The desk sergeant raises an eyebrow. He glances at Danielle, her tailored suit, the calm authority in her eyes. Something doesn't add up. "What exactly did she do?" Hale snaps back. "I just told you, resisting arrest. Write it down." Danielle holds his gaze, then speaks with deliberate precision. "Sergeant, I asked for probable cause. None was given. I complied with every command. This arrest is unlawful." The sergeant hesitates, looking between them. He's known Hale for years, but he also knows the captain's temper. And something about this woman, her composure, her presence, makes him uneasy. "Captain, maybe we should—" "Enough!" Hale slams his hand on the desk. "Put her in holding. I'll file the paperwork." Two younger officers exchange glances, doubt flickering in their eyes. Phones buzz in their pockets, alerts from social media. One officer quickly checks his screen and sees Hale's face plastered across trending videos. His stomach sinks. "Sir," he mutters, "this is already online." Hale glares. "What?" The officer swallows. "There are live streams. Tens of thousands of views. People are calling it racist." Hale's jaw tightens, but he covers it with bravado. "Let them tweet, I run this precinct." But he doesn't, not for much longer. Danielle is led toward the holding cells, still calm, still composed. As the bars clang shut behind her, she sits gracefully on the bench, folding her hands in her lap. Her silence unsettles everyone. Meanwhile, outside the precinct, a crowd gathers. Protesters hold up their phones, chanting "Justice now" and "Release her." News vans pull up, reporters scrambling to broadcast live. The story is spreading like fire. Inside, Hale writes furiously at his desk, scribbling charges that won't hold up under scrutiny. He mutters under his breath, "She thinks she can embarrass me. I'll make sure this sticks." But even as he writes, his phone buzzes. A fellow captain texts, "You're trending. Call me ASAP." He ignores it, pride overriding reason. By 3 a.m., the precinct is swarmed with media. The chief of night operations storms in, demanding answers. "Richard, what the hell is going on?" Hale stiffens. "Routine arrest. She refused to comply." The chief slams a phone on the desk, showing the viral video. "Routine? The whole country is watching you slam a black woman against her car and call her you people. Do you realize what you've done?" Hale stammers. "She was disrespectful." "Disrespectful?" The chief cuts him off. "Do you even know who she is?" Hale blinks, confused. "Some mouthy lawyer, probably." The chief shakes his head in disbelief. "That's Danielle Carter, the mayor's pick for the new police chief. She's being sworn in tomorrow morning." Silence crashes over the room. Officers freeze mid-step, jaws dropping. Hale's pen slips from his hand. "That's impossible," he whispers. But it isn't. By dawn, every major outlet will run the headline, "Racist Captain Arrests New Chief Before Swearing In." His career isn't just tarnished, it's over. Down in the holding cell, Danielle hears the commotion upstairs. She sits quietly, knowing the truth has finally caught up. Her phone buzzes in her purse, confiscated but not yet processed. Messages flood in from city officials, reporters, colleagues. She knows her silence won't last much longer. At 5 a.m., the mayor herself arrives at the precinct. Cameras follow as she storms through the doors, fury etched on her face. "Where is she?" she demands. Officers scramble, unlocking the cell. Danielle steps out, her poise unshaken. The mayor hugs her tightly in front of the flashing cameras. "Chief Carter, I am so sorry you endured this." Gasps ripple through the room. The title is spoken out loud. Chief Carter. Officers glance at each other in shock. Hale stands frozen, his face draining of color. The mayor turns, fire in her eyes. "Captain Hale, you are relieved of duty effective immediately. Badge and gun. Now." Hale stutters, "Ma'am, please, it was a misunderstanding." "Badge and gun," she repeats coldly. He fumbles, hands shaking as he removes them. The cameras catch everything. The disgraced captain stripped of authority in front of his colleagues, his arrogance collapsing under the weight of truth. Danielle straightens her jacket, cuffs finally removed. She addresses the cameras directly. "Last night, arrogance thought it could silence me. But today, dignity speaks louder. This department will change, effective immediately." The crowd outside erupts in cheers. Chants thunder, "Justice! Justice!" And in that moment, Atlanta realizes the truth. The city has a new chief, and she has already delivered justice before even stepping into her office. Because arrogance thought it had power, but power now belongs to dignity, and dignity just took the badge. The morning sun rises over Atlanta, but the city doesn't wake to routine news. Every major network leads with the same story. Newly appointed police chief assaulted by captain on eve of swearing in. Clips of Captain Hale slamming Danielle Carter against her car play on repeat, sparking outrage across the nation. By 8 a.m., the precinct is surrounded by protesters. Signs wave in the air. No more racist cops. Justice for Chief Carter. Accountability now. Chants echo down the streets, spilling into downtown traffic. Inside City Hall, Danielle prepares for the swearing-in ceremony. Her cheek still bears a faint red mark from the night before, but she doesn't cover it. Instead, she wears it like a badge of resilience. Her suit is pressed, her hair neatly braided, her posture steady. An aide whispers, "Chief Carter, are you ready?" She nods calmly. "I've been ready my whole life." Meanwhile, Captain Richard Hale sits in a conference room under suspension. His badge and gun lie on the table, confiscated. His lawyer paces beside him. "Richard, this is bad. The footage is everywhere. You're trending nationwide. Hashtags calling for your arrest have millions of views." Hale snarls, "It was a misunderstanding. She baited me." His lawyer shakes his head. "It doesn't matter what you think. The public saw everything. And now the woman you assaulted is your new boss." Hale slams his fist on the table, face flushed. "She'll ruin me." The lawyer exhales slowly. "You ruined yourself." At 10 a.m., the swearing-in ceremony begins. The auditorium is packed. City officials, officers, community leaders, and a sea of reporters. The air buzzes with anticipation. Cameras flash as Danielle walks to the podium, her presence commanding. The mayor steps forward. "Last night, our city witnessed a shameful act, but today, we respond with strength. Please welcome Atlanta's new police chief, Danielle Carter." Applause erupts. The crowd rises to its feet. Danielle raises her hand, taking the oath with unwavering eyes. "I, Danielle Carter, do solemnly swear to serve and protect the people of this city, to uphold justice without fear or favor, and to lead this department with dignity." Cheers thunder. The room vibrates with energy. When she steps to the microphone, silence falls instantly. Her voice is calm, clear, and resolute. "Last night, I was reminded why I accepted this role, because arrogance still believes it can intimidate, humiliate, and divide. But I stand here today to tell you, dignity will always rise. This department will change. Accountability is not optional, it is the law. Every citizen deserves respect, and every officer will be held to that standard." The applause shakes the hall. Cameras zoom in on her face, capturing the fire in her eyes. Across the city, televisions broadcast her words live. Families at breakfast nod in approval. College students cheer in dorm lounges. Even officers in precincts across Georgia pause to listen, some with shame, others with pride. Meanwhile, Richard Hale watches from a small office, his face pale. Every word she speaks feels like a nail sealing his fate. His colleagues avoid his gaze. Once feared, now he is shunned. Back in the auditorium, Danielle concludes her speech. "To the people of Atlanta, you are not invisible. You are not voiceless. This department serves you. And to every officer, arrogance has no badge here, only dignity does." The crowd erupts again. Chants of "Carter! Carter!" roll through the room. That afternoon, news outlets release side-by-side footage. Hale's abuse and Carter's swearing in. Commentators declare a historic fall and rise in a single day. Civil rights leaders praise her composure, calling her a chief for the people. But the backlash grows louder too. On fringe networks, pundits defend Hale, claiming he was set up or taken out of context. Online trolls flood social media with racist slurs, targeting Danielle. Marcus, a close ally from the city council, warns her in a call. "Chief, you've got support, but the resistance is real. They're not going to go quietly." Danielle responds firmly, "I didn't expect them to. Change never comes quietly." By evening, another vigil fills Riverton Plaza. Candles glow, signs wave, children chant her words. Arrogance has no badge. News drones hover overhead, capturing the sea of light. Danielle watches from her office window, the city spread before her. Her phone buzzes non-stop. Calls from governors, journalists, activists. She silences it all for a moment, staring out at the candles. Her deputy, Lieutenant Brooks, steps in. Chief, we've got a storm coming. Hale's allies in the department aren't happy. Danielle nods slowly. Then we start now. Internal review boards, accountability audits. If they want to test this office, let them. We'll show them dignity isn't a slogan, it's policy. Brooks smiles faintly. The city has your back. Danielle turns to her desk, pulling out a folder labeled Reform Plan. She flips it open, the blueprint for a new era of policing in Atlanta. Because last night arrogance had the microphone. But today dignity holds the badge. And dignity has no intention of letting go. The reforms begin the very next morning. Danielle Carter, now officially Chief Carter, walks into headquarters flanked by her new deputy, Lieutenant Brooks. Officers glance up from their desks, some rising to attention, others pretending to stay busy. The atmosphere is thick with tension. She pauses in the lobby, looking around. Her voice carries firm authority. This department belongs to the people of Atlanta. From today forward, accountability isn't an afterthought. It's the foundation. Every officer will be evaluated. Every complaint will be investigated. And arrogance will have no place here. Some officers nod, quietly relieved. Others cross their arms, their faces tight with resentment. Upstairs, Captain Hale sits in a temporary suspension office, stripped of his authority but still fuming. His lawyer tells him, "You need to stay quiet, Richard. Anything you say can and will be used against you." But Hale scoffs. "Quiet? While she destroys everything I built? She humiliated me." His lawyer leans in. "You humiliated yourself, and if you're not careful, prison might be next." By noon, Chief Carter convenes her first press conference. The room is packed with reporters, cameras flashing. She steps to the podium, her presence steady. "Last night exposed a problem deeper than one incident," she begins. "It exposed a culture where arrogance believes it can act without consequence. That ends now. We are creating an independent review board led by civilians to investigate misconduct. We are implementing mandatory training on bias and community respect. And we are opening a public hotline so every citizen can report abuse directly to my office." Gasps ripple through the press corps. One reporter calls out, "Chief Carter, aren't you worried about backlash from inside the department?" She meets his eyes. "Backlash doesn't scare me. Silence does. And I refuse to be silent." Applause breaks out, unusual for a press conference. The clip goes viral within hours. That evening, families gather around televisions to watch her speech replayed. Parents tell their children, "See, that's what leadership looks like." Civil rights leaders praise her, saying, "Atlanta finally has a chief who understands dignity." But inside the precinct, not everyone cheers. A handful of senior officers grumble in hushed voices. "She's going to ruin morale. She's just grandstanding." Hale was right about her. Lieutenant Brooks overhears and shuts it down quickly. "You'd better adjust. She's not here to play politics. She's here to lead." Meanwhile, Richard Hale watches the coverage from his apartment, bitterness gnawing at him. His phone buzzes with messages from supporters on fringe forums. One reads, "We've got your back, Captain. Don't let her take everything." Another, "She's making the force weak. We'll fight for you." Hale grips his phone, conflicted. He knows associating with these groups could end his career permanently. But then again, hasn't it already ended? Across town, Danielle works late into the night in her new office. Papers are stacked high. Complaints from citizens, reports of misconduct, requests for reform. She reads each one carefully, making notes in the margins. Brooks enters with coffee. "You've been at it for hours, Chief. You should get some rest." She shakes her head. "No, every paper here represents someone who felt invisible. If they had the courage to file, I'll have the respect to read." Brooks sets the coffee down, watching her with admiration. "You're going to change this city." She replies softly, "Not me, us, them." She nods toward the stack of reports, and the people who finally feel seen. The next morning, reform begins in practice. Danielle holds mandatory roll call meetings where officers must recite the department's new creed: serve with dignity, protect with honor, act with accountability. Some officers say it proudly, others mumble. But Danielle notices every face. She also launches a program pairing officers with community mentors, pastors, teachers, small business owners, forcing the department to see the neighborhoods they serve as more than statistics. The media follows every step. Headlines read, "Chief Carter wastes no time," and "Reform arrives in Atlanta PD." But backlash simmers. Online, hate groups churn out propaganda against her. Some post doctored photos, Others spread rumors. Threats trickle into her office, anonymous letters, voicemails, slurs scrawled in emails. Brooks warns, "Chief, these aren't just trolls. Some of these threats are organized." Danielle nods calmly. "Then let them organize." Dignity has faced worse than words. Still, she increases security quietly, aware that danger lurks. Meanwhile, public support surges. Vigils continue nightly in Riverton Plaza. Children carry signs with her words. "Arrogance has no badge here." Parents speak proudly to reporters. "She's giving our kids hope." At City Hall, the mayor beams with pride. In 24 hours, Danielle Carter has turned humiliation into a movement. Atlanta has a new standard. Back at headquarters, Danielle pins a photo on her wall, a shot from the vigil, candles glowing like stars. Underneath, she writes 3 words in bold marker: "Not invisible." Strong, because last night arrogance thought it had won. But now dignity is building walls stronger than arrogance can ever break. And the foundation has only just been laid. Within a week, Chief Danielle Carter's reforms dominate every headline. National news anchors describe Atlanta as the testing ground for the future of policing in America. Editorials praise her courage. Community leaders hail her as a pioneer. But inside the department, resistance brews. One morning, Danielle enters the briefing room for roll call. The room is packed, dozens of officers standing at attention. She begins, "From today, community mentoring is not optional. Every officer will spend 4 hours a month working directly with citizens, schools, churches, small businesses. You will know the people you serve." Some officers nod, scribbling notes. Others shift uncomfortably. A few roll their eyes. Danielle sees it all. After the meeting, a cluster of veteran officers mutter in the hallway, "She's making us babysitters. This isn't policing, it's politics." Hale was right, she's soft. Lieutenant Brooks hears them. His voice cuts like steel. "You don't like dignity? Turn in your badge. Otherwise, fall in line." Silence falls. None of them quit. Not yet. Meanwhile, Richard Hale grows more restless. Suspended, isolated, and drowning in legal bills, he spends his days glued to the news. Clips of Danielle's press conferences play non-stop, each word twisting like a knife. One night, he logs into a private online forum. The messages pour in. "They hung you out to dry. She's destroying the force. We need real men back in uniform." Hale's fingers hover over the keyboard. He knows engaging with these people is dangerous, but bitterness outweighs caution. He types, "She's not fit to lead. The department is collapsing under her watch." Responses flood in instantly. Finally, the captain speaks. "We're with you. There are ways to fight back." Back at headquarters, Danielle pushes forward with reforms. She launches body camera audits, reviews old complaints, and orders retraining for every officer cited for misconduct. Some welcome the changes, relieved accountability has teeth. Others seethe quietly. The public, however, rallies behind her. Each evening, vigils continue at Riverton Plaza. Parents bring children, holding candles high. Chants echo through the streets. Dignity has the badge. Not invisible, strong. One night, Danielle attends in plain clothes, blending into the crowd. She watches as children recite her words, their voices bright against the night sky. A young girl approaches timidly, holding a candle. "Are you Chief Carter?" Danielle smiles gently. "Yes, I am." The girl's eyes shine. "I want to be like you when I grow up." Tears prick Danielle's eyes, but she holds steady. "Then remember this. Dignity is stronger than fear. Carry it with you always." The girl nods, clutching her candle tighter. The next morning, the city erupts again. This time not with celebration, but with fury. A leaked video surfaces of officers mocking Danielle's reforms. In the clip, one officer sneers, "Next thing you know, she'll make us sing lullabies." Laughter follows. The video trends instantly under the hashtag #MockingTheChief. Citizens demand accountability. Reporters swarm headquarters. Danielle calls an emergency press conference. Standing tall at the podium, she doesn't flinch. Mockery is the weapon of the weak. If officers think they can laugh at accountability, they're free to find another profession. As of today, every officer in that video is suspended pending review. This department will not tolerate arrogance disguised as humor. The room erupts in questions, but she holds her ground. Clips of her statement go viral. Commentators say, "Carter isn't just reforming policy, she's reforming culture." Meanwhile, Richard Hale seethes. He paces his living room, muttering, She's turning them against us. She's erasing everything. His phone buzzes. Another message from the forum. You don't have to take this. We can help you fight back. He hesitates, then replies, Tell me how. Back at City Hall, the mayor congratulates Danielle. You've turned outrage into hope. The people trust you, but be careful. Hale still has allies, and bitterness is a dangerous fuel. Danielle nods. I know. That's why we can't stop. If arrogance is plotting, dignity must move faster. That night, she reviews her reform plan again. Page after page, step after step. It's more than policy. It's a blueprint for a new era. Outside her window, Riverton Plaza glows with candles once more. The chants drift faintly into her office. Arrogance has no badge here. She whispers to herself, No, it doesn't. Not anymore, because arrogance is laughing in shadows, but dignity is speaking in daylight, and daylight is spreading across the city. The suspension of the mocking officers sends a shockwave through the department. For the first time in decades, rank-and-file officers realize jokes and backroom banter can have consequences. Some grumble in hushed tones. Others, quietly impressed, admit Chief Carter is serious about reform. Danielle doesn't waste time. She holds mandatory town halls inside the precinct. Officers are required to sit face-to-face with community members, pastors, teachers, small business owners, listening to stories of mistreatment. The sessions are tense. Some officers shift uncomfortably as citizens describe years of disrespect. Others, humbled, promise to do better. One evening, a retired teacher stands, her voice trembling. When I called for help years ago, an officer laughed at me. I never forgot it. I never trusted again. Chief Carter, thank you for making us heard. Danielle nods firmly. Respect is not optional. From today, every call matters. Every person matters. The room erupts in applause. Even some officers clap. Meanwhile, Richard Hale's spiral deepens. Isolated in suspension, his name a punchline, he spends hours on the fringe forum that has embraced him. The members flood him with messages. You were betrayed. She's weak and you were strong. Fight back. At first, Hale only vents, but soon he's taking their suggestions seriously. They urge him to give interviews, to paint himself as the victim of a politically correct witch hunt, and one night, bitter and drunk, he agrees. A week later, he sits in front of a camera for a sympathetic podcast host. I was just doing my job, he insists. This woman, she disrespected me. The department threw me under the bus for one mistake. Now she's turning policing into babysitting. Clips of the interview circulate instantly. His defenders cheer, his critics slam him harder, but either way, his voice is back in the conversation. Danielle watches the clip in her office. Brooks stands nearby, shaking his head. He's trying to spin it. He's desperate. Danielle remains calm. Let him talk. Every word digs him deeper. The more he speaks, the clearer it is who he really is. Still, she knows words can be dangerous. Lies repeated often enough can fester. She orders her communications team to counter with facts. Statistics on improved community trust, footage of officers engaging positively with residents, stories of change. The media picks up both sides, but momentum stays with her. Public approval surges. Commentators declare Atlanta is becoming the model for reform. But Hale isn't finished. Behind the scenes, he grows bolder on the forums. Members whisper about taking action, about sending a message. Hale doesn't directly agree, but he doesn't stop them either. His silence is fuel. Meanwhile, Danielle's reforms spread further. She implements quarterly performance reviews, not just on arrests, but on community feedback. Officers are graded on respect, communication, and accountability. The best performers are promoted. The worst are retrained or removed. The culture begins to shift. A young officer tells her, Chief, I was skeptical at first, but last week, a kid I used to stop for loitering waved at me instead of running. That never happened before. Danielle smiles. That's what dignity does. It builds bridges where walls used to be. At home, however, the toll shows. Long nights, constant threats, endless pressure. It wears on her. One evening, she sits alone at her kitchen table, rubbing her temples. Her phone buzzes with another anonymous message. You won't last long, Chief. We're watching. She exhales slowly, refusing to let fear win. She saves the message, forwards it to the FBI task force monitoring threats, then deletes it from her phone. Brooks calls late that night. Chief, you need to know, some of the threats are credible. They're tied to Hale's supporters. We're stepping up protection. Danielle pauses. Thank you, but don't treat me like a victim. Treat me like a chief. I'll face whatever comes. The next day, she walks into the precinct lobby. A crowd of community members waits, holding flowers and handwritten notes. One young boy steps forward shyly, handing her a card. On it, in messy handwriting, are the words, "Thank you for making us feel safe." Her eyes mist. She kneels, meeting his gaze. "And thank you for reminding me why this work matters." The cameras catch the moment and the photo spreads quickly. Chief Carter kneeling to accept a child's card, a symbol of trust being rebuilt. But in Hale's apartment, the same photo fuels rage. He slams his fist against the wall. "They've turned her into a saint," he shouts. His reflection in the darkened TV screen looks nothing like the respected captain he once was. Only bitterness remains. On the forum, a message appears. It's time to do more than talk. Who's ready to act? Hale doesn't type a response, but he doesn't log out either. Because arrogance, once cornered, doesn't fade quietly. It plots, it festers, it waits. And in Atlanta, dignity has finally found its voice, just as arrogance sharpens its claws. The fallout from Hale's podcast appearance doesn't fade, it grows. Within 48 hours, the clip racks up millions of views. His defenders call him a scapegoat. His critics call him proof of the rot inside the department. Cable shows run heated panels. One anchor says, "This isn't about one bad cop. It's about a culture Chief Carter is trying to dismantle." Danielle watches from her office, arms folded, jaw set. She knows public debate is inevitable, but what worries her are the whispers, messages surfacing on extremist forums. Brooks briefs her daily. Some of Hale's new followers aren't just angry, they're organized. "We flagged threats that reference your schedule." Danielle doesn't flinch. "Then make sure security is visible. Let them see dignity doesn't scare." Meanwhile, reform marches forward. Danielle unveils a new initiative called Community Watch Together, a program pairing officers with residents on joint neighborhood patrols. The symbolism is powerful. Police and citizens walking side by side. The first patrol happens in Old Fourth Ward, an area scarred by years of distrust. Danielle walks at the front, flanked by officers and community leaders. Children peek from doorways, surprised to see uniforms without tension. A shopkeeper steps out, shaking her hand. "Never thought I'd see this day," he says. News cameras capture it all. That night, the footage plays across the nation. Chief Carter walking with the people. Public trust surges higher. But the more she rises, the darker Hale's path becomes. At a dingy bar outside the city, he meets with a handful of bitter ex-officers. They drink heavily, swapping grievances. One slurs, "She made us look weak. Now the whole country laughs at us." Hale leans in, his voice low. "She didn't just ruin me. She ruined the badge. If we let her keep going, there won't be a force left." The men nod grimly. One whispers, "Then maybe it's time to stop her." Hale doesn't reply. He stares into his glass, silence louder than agreement. Back in Atlanta, Danielle faces a new test. Internal Affairs uncovers decades-old complaints long buried by senior officers, beatings, racial slurs, harassment. She orders immediate reopenings. Her stance is clear. No more skeletons hidden in file cabinets. Every story gets daylight. Resistance explodes. Veteran officers storm her office, shouting about loyalty. Danielle lets them vent, then cuts them off with razor precision. Loyalty to arrogance is betrayal of justice. If you can't serve with dignity, you won't serve here at all. The confrontation leaks to the press. Headlines read, "Chief Carter takes on old guard." Public opinion sides with her. The streets light up with another vigil. Thousands chanting, "No more shadows, only light." That evening, Danielle drives home late. Her car turns onto a quiet street when headlights appear behind her, trailing too close. She notices the pattern, speeding up when she does, slowing when she slows. Her pulse quickens. She pulls into a well-lit gas station, cameras above, witnesses present. The car behind her idles for a moment, then peels away into the night. She exhales slowly, dialing Brooks. "They're testing me. Make sure the task force knows." Brooks responds firmly, "Already on it. We won't let arrogance stalk unchecked." The next morning, the threats escalate. An anonymous package arrives at headquarters, a pair of broken scissors and a note scrawled in red marker. "You'll be cut next." Brooks slams it on her desk. "This isn't trolling anymore. This is a warning." Danielle studies the scissors calmly. Good. Let them warn me. Every scare tactic they use proves why reform is needed. They want me silent. I'll speak louder. She orders a press conference. Standing before cameras, she holds the scissors up. This arrived at my office today. A symbol of fear. But I refuse to be afraid. To those who send threats, your time is ending. This badge doesn't protect arrogance. It protects dignity, and dignity will not be cut down. The crowd erupts in applause. The clip trends immediately. Dignity will not be cut. But Hale watches from his apartment, fury in his eyes. His reflection in the dark TV looks nothing like the captain he once was. His bitterness has twisted into obsession. He scrolls through forum messages urging action, his hand trembling. Across the city, Danielle meets with community leaders, outlining the next phase of reform. Neighborhood review boards, citizen ride-alongs, open disciplinary hearings. One pastor clasps her hands. "Chief, you're changing lives. Don't stop." She smiles faintly. "I won't. Not until arrogance is a memory." Yet even as candles glow in Riverton Plaza that night, darker plans are forming. Hale's bitterness has found allies willing to act, because arrogance, when stripped of its badge, doesn't surrender. It plots in basements, it whispers in bars, it sharpens its claws in silence, and Chief Carter, standing tall in the spotlight, knows the shadows are watching. Atlanta doesn't sleep the night Chief Carter holds up those broken scissors. Social media erupts with solidarity. Hashtags flood timelines. Dignity will not be cut. #stand with Carter. #justice. In uniform, candlelight vigils double in size. From rooftops to churches, the city glows as if to tell the shadows, we are watching too. Inside headquarters, Danielle pushes harder. She creates a new citizen hotline, staffed 24 hours a day, where people can call directly with complaints or praise about officers. The first night, the phones ring non-stop. A grandmother reports an officer who mocked her accent years ago. A teenager calls to say, one cop treated him with respect for the first time. Each story fuels Danielle's resolve. Every call matters, she tells Brooks. Every voice will be heard. Meanwhile, Richard Hale sits in darkness. The only glow in his apartment comes from his laptop screen and the glass of whiskey in his hand. Forum messages pile up. She humiliated you. Take back your honor. We can help you strike back. Hale's eyes flicker with anger and desperation. He types, tell me what you're planning. Back at City Hall, Danielle meets with the mayor. The office buzzes with energy. Poll numbers show public trust in the police climbing for the first time in years. Chief, you've done what no one thought possible, the mayor says proudly. But it's also dangerous. Hale's supporters are growing louder. They're holding meetings. We need to prepare. Danielle nods. Let them gather. The louder they get, the clearer it is that change is working. Still, she can't ignore the unease gnawing at her. That weekend, the coalition organizes a massive rally downtown. Tens of thousands flood the streets, holding candles, banners, and signs. Children chant her words, not invisible, strong. Musicians perform songs inspired by the movement. News anchors compare the energy to historic marches of the 1960s. Danielle takes the stage. Her voice booms across the plaza. They tried to scare us with threats. They tried to silence us with fear. But every scare only made us stronger. Every threat only made us louder. Tonight, Atlanta says one thing: dignity cannot be cut down. The crowd thunders, chants echoing for blocks. Unseen in the crowd, Hale watches from the shadows, a hood pulled low. His fists clench at the sight of her on stage, the cheers rattling his bones. He mutters bitterly, she stole everything. After the rally, Danielle rides home with Brooks. He notices her silence. You okay, Chief? She exhales slowly. I keep thinking about how arrogance doesn't just disappear. It waits. And I know Hale isn't done. Brooks replies firmly, then we'll stay ready. He won't touch you. But that same night, Hale meets with two men from the forum in a rundown warehouse. They spread blueprints across a table, the layout of Riverton Plaza, Danielle's office schedule, protest routes. One whispers, if we want to make a statement, this is the way. Hale hesitates, staring at the plans. He knows it's madness, but bitterness blinds him. Do it, he finally mutters. Back in her office, Danielle pores over reports. For every new policy, for every hotline call, for every officer retrained, there's progress. But the threats keep escalating. She receives another anonymous email. Next time, no cameras. Next time, no witnesses. She forwards it to Brooks, then deletes it, but her hand trembles slightly. She clenches her fists, whispering, "I will not bow." The next morning, news outlets run features titled "The Carter Standard." They highlight her policies, the hotline, the community patrols. Commentators declare Atlanta is rewriting policing, but on the fringes, hate simmers. Flyers appear in some neighborhoods, smearing her reforms, calling them weak. A small protest of Hale supporters gathers outside headquarters, holding signs like "Bring back real cops." They're drowned out by a larger crowd chanting, "Dignity has the badge." Inside, Danielle watches from her window. "Every movement has resistance," she tells Brooks. But resistance proves we're moving. That evening, she speaks at a church packed with families. Her voice is softer here, intimate. "I know you're scared. I know arrogance has hurt you for years. But tonight, hear this. You are not alone. You are seen. You are strong." The congregation rises, applauding, tears in their eyes. Unbeknownst to them, Hale drives past the church slowly, watching the crowd pour out. His knuckles whiten on the steering wheel. "She turned them against me," he mutters. "Against everything I stood for." At home later, Danielle finds a letter slid under her door. No envelope, no signature. Just 5 words scrawled across the paper. "You won't see it coming." She sits at her kitchen table, reading it over and over. Fear prickles at her skin, but she refuses to let it show. She burns the note in the sink, watching the flames consume it. Then she whispers to herself, steady and sure, "Let them come. Dignity doesn't run." Because arrogance may plot in secret rooms, may whisper on dark forums, may plan in warehouses. But dignity walks in the open, and the open is where justice always wins. The threats don't slow down. If anything, they multiply. Each morning, Danielle's inbox fills with anonymous emails. Crude messages, blurry photos of her walking to her car, even recordings of her speeches twisted with hateful captions. Brooks reads them first, but Danielle insists on seeing them too. "Chief, you don't need this weight," Brooks tells her. "I do," she replies firmly. "If people think silence will shield me, they're wrong. These threats are proof we're breaking arrogance apart, and I need to know exactly what we're up against." The FBI task force steps in, monitoring chatter online. Agents show Danielle screenshots of forums where Hale's name still carries weight. One message reads, "The captain will rise again." Another, "She can't lead if she's gone." Danielle studies the evidence calmly. They think they're organized, but fear always hides in shadows. We'll drag it into daylight. Meanwhile, public support swells. The Community Watch Together patrols expand to more neighborhoods. Citizens post photos online of officers walking side by side with residents, shaking hands, eating at local diners. A viral clip shows a little boy high-fiving an officer who once terrified him. The caption reads, "This is the Carter effect, but the more visible her success, the bolder her enemies grow." Late one night, Danielle drives home after a long meeting. Halfway down a deserted stretch of road, her headlights catch a figure standing in the middle. She brakes hard. The man wears a hoodie, his face shadowed. He stares at her car for several tense seconds before stepping aside and vanishing into the trees. Her pulse races, but she refuses to call it intimidation. Instead, she reports it to Brooks and continues home. "They want me rattled," she mutters. "I won't give them that satisfaction." Back in Hale's orbit, the plotting intensifies. The ex-captain meets again with his new allies. In the warehouse, maps and schedules are spread across a table. One man points to Riverton Plaza. "She appears here almost every week. If we want to send a message, this is where we strike." Hale doesn't stop them. He doesn't order it either. But his silence is approval enough. The next weekend, Riverton Plaza fills once again. Families hold candles, chanting, "Not invisible, strong." Danielle steps onto the stage, her presence commanding. Cameras flash, live streams beam her words to millions. "They told us to fear," she declares. "They told us to hide. But look around you. Fear is not here. Fear cannot survive in the light." The crowd roars. Candles blaze brighter. Yet in the distance, Hale watches from his car, hidden in the shadows. His stomach twists as he sees the sea of support, the chants drowning out his bitterness. "They forgot me already," he whispers. "They replaced me with her." Back at headquarters, Danielle launches her boldest move yet, the Transparency Initiative. From now on, disciplinary records will be public. Every complaint, every suspension, every termination open to the community. Reporters hail it as historic. Commentators debate fiercely. Some officers resign in protest, claiming morale is destroyed. Others stay, admitting it's overdue. Danielle stands firm. If sunlight burns arrogance away, then let it shine brighter. But Hale seethes. He rants online, claiming she's destroying the force. His followers encourage him. Take her down. Be the captain again. Prove you still matter. His apartment grows darker each night, curtains drawn, bottles piling. His world shrinks to whispers and rage. Meanwhile, Danielle continues her relentless schedule. She speaks at schools, attends vigils, meets with lawmakers. Each time her words grow sharper. We cannot cut dignity. We cannot silence truth, and we will not go back. Children chant her words in classrooms. Parents quote her in church. Her name becomes synonymous with strength. But danger looms closer. One morning, Brooks bursts into her office, eyes wide. Chief, intel confirms a credible plot. Hale's name is tied directly to it. They've been planning an attack at the next vigil. Danielle leans back in her chair, calm but resolute. Then we make that vigil stronger than ever. We prepare, we protect the people, and we show arrogance it cannot win. Brooks hesitates. Chief, they're targeting you. I know, she says quietly. But if I back down, they've already won. That evening, Danielle holds another press conference. Cameras flash as she looks directly into the lens. To those who send threats, I see you. To those who plot in shadows, I hear you. But understand this. You will not silence me. You will not silence the people, and you will never cut dignity from this city. The applause is deafening. The clip spreads instantly, captioned, Chief Carter stares down hate. Across the city, vigils multiply. Candles burn brighter, voices chant louder, and in the shadows, Hale grips his steering wheel, teeth clenched, watching her on TV. His reflection stares back, hollow and furious, because arrogance, when stripped of its power, doesn't vanish. It festers. It waits. And in Atlanta, the clash between arrogance and dignity is about to reach its breaking point. The news of a credible threat doesn't stop Atlanta. It ignites it. Within hours, volunteers flood the coalition's headquarters, offering to help secure the next vigil. Parents bring bottled water, local businesses donate lighting equipment, and churches offer buses to transport families safely. The city refuses to cower. Danielle meets with Brooks and a circle of FBI agents in a secure conference room. Maps of Riverton Plaza are spread across the table. One agent points at entrances, rooftops, and alleys. We'll have plainclothes officers in the crowd, snipers on rooftops, and checkpoints at every corner. If Hale or his followers try anything, we'll shut it down. Brooks adds, But Chief, we can still cancel. You don't need to risk this. Danielle shakes her head firmly. If we cancel, they win. This movement is built on standing tall. Fear won't dictate our steps. The room falls silent. Her resolve is unshakable. Meanwhile, Hale prepares in his own way. In the warehouse, he and his small band of bitter ex-officers finalize their plan. Maps of the plaza are taped to the wall. One man brandishes a weapon. We get close, we send a message. She won't walk away this time. Hale doesn't flinch, but his eyes betray hesitation. For all his rage, he knows the cost of crossing that line. Still, his silence encourages the others. The night of the vigil arrives. Riverton Plaza glows brighter than ever. Thousands of candles illuminate the square, their light reflecting in every window. Families sing, children wave handmade posters. Dignity wins, Carter strong, arrogance has no badge. Danielle steps onto the stage as chants thunder, not invisible, strong. The energy is electric, the air thick with both hope and tension. Cameras broadcast live across the country. She begins her speech calmly, her voice carrying over the sea of light. They told us fear would silence us. They told us arrogance could hold power forever. But look at us now, standing, shining, stronger than ever. This city has chosen dignity, and dignity cannot be cut down. The crowd erupts, chants rolling like thunder. But in the shadows, Hale moves. He slips through the alley with two of his allies, trying to blend with the crowd. Each step feels heavier than the last. His heart pounds as chants echo. Dignity! Dignity! He mutters, it should have been me they chanted for. Unbeknownst to him, plainclothes officers already track their movements. Brooks, watching from a command post, speaks into his radio. Team Bravo, eyes on Hale, wait for my signal. Back on stage, Danielle's voice sharpens. This isn't just about Atlanta. This is about every city, every neighborhood, every child who has ever been told they don't belong. Tonight, we send a message to the whole country. Dignity has the badge now, and dignity will not surrender. The crowd roars, candles wave like stars. Hale's group pushes closer. One man reaches into his jacket. Suddenly, agents strike. Officers swarm, tackling the men to the ground. Weapons clatter onto the pavement. Gasps ripple through the plaza. But Danielle doesn't falter. She raises her candle high. They want us afraid. Look around you. Are we afraid? No, the crowd bellows. Are we silent? Never. Then say it with me. Dignity rises. The chant thunders, louder than sirens, drowning out fear. Dignity rises, dignity rises. Brooks rushes to the stage, whispering in Danielle's ear. It's over. We have them in custody. Hale's done. Danielle nods but keeps her eyes on the crowd. Good. Let the people see that dignity doesn't bow to shadows. It burns them away. The vigil continues, even stronger. Music swells, candles blaze, chants echo for miles. Reporters call it the night arrogance was arrested. Back at headquarters, Hale sits in handcuffs, his face pale, his eyes hollow. He mutters, "It should have been me. They took everything from me." An FBI agent responds coldly, "No, you gave it away." Meanwhile, Danielle addresses the press one final time that night. Standing tall, flanked by officers and community leaders, she declares, "Atlanta stood against fear tonight, and fear lost. This city belongs to the people. This badge belongs to dignity, and arrogance will never wear it again." Across the country, the footage spreads like wildfire. Commentators declare the Carter Doctrine is more than reform, it's resilience. At home later, Danielle finally allows herself a breath. Sitting with her family, she whispers, "It's over." Her mother places a hand on hers. "No, child, it's only the beginning, but you've shown them what a leader looks like." Danielle nods slowly, exhaustion in her bones but fire still in her eyes. She knows the fight isn't finished, but tonight, dignity stood its ground. Because arrogance thought it could strike in the shadows, but dignity lit the whole city, and light always wins. The morning after Hale's arrest, Atlanta wakes to a new reality. Every major newspaper splashes the same headline: Ex-Captain Hale arrested at vigil. TV anchors replay the footage of plainclothes officers tackling him to the ground, his face pressed against the pavement as candles burned around him. Commentators declare the night arrogance finally collapsed. Social media surges with clips of Danielle's speech woven side by side with Hale in cuffs. One post goes viral. "This is what justice looks like." At headquarters, Danielle convenes a press briefing. The room is packed, reporters buzzing. She steps up, her voice calm but firm. "Last night proved what we've always known. Arrogance will stop at nothing to cling to power. But dignity will always stand taller." Richard Hale chose the path of fear. This department chooses the path of justice. Questions fly. "Chief, do you feel vindicated? Are you concerned about more threats? Will Hale face federal charges?" Danielle answers each carefully. "This is not about me, it's about the city. Hale will face justice in court as every citizen should. But our focus remains reform, transparency, and dignity." Applause breaks out, rare in a press room. Meanwhile, Hale sits in a federal holding cell. No lawyer, no allies, just the echo of his own bitterness. He replays the chants in his mind. Dignity rises, each syllable a dagger. He once commanded fear, now he inspires only pity. The FBI releases more details. Hale's group had planned a violent attack on the vigil. Weapons, maps, and messages are displayed at a press conference. An agent declares, "This wasn't protest, this was conspiracy," and it ends here. The revelation stuns the public. Vigils swell even larger, people chanting not just for dignity, but for justice against extremism. Hashtags trend, #dignity defeats, fear, #justice for Atlanta. At City Hall, the mayor embraces Danielle. "Chief Carter, you've not only reformed this department, you've saved this city from tragedy." Danielle replies softly, "We saved it together. The people did." But she knows victory is fragile. Extremism doesn't vanish overnight. She orders heightened security for future events, while also reminding her officers, "We cannot let fear dictate our service. The community must see us strong, not hiding." The reforms accelerate. With Hale gone, resistance inside the department weakens. More officers step forward to embrace the new culture, some even apologize publicly. A sergeant admits on live TV, "I doubted her. I was wrong. She's rebuilding trust, and I want to be part of it." Public trust soars. Polls show confidence in Atlanta police at its highest in decades. Community groups call Danielle the People's Chief. Still, Danielle carries the scars. Late at night, she sits in her office staring at the burned scissors still sealed in an evidence bag. They remind her that arrogance lurks, waiting for silence. She whispers to herself, "Never again." Brooks enters quietly. "Chief, you should rest." She shakes her head. Rest comes after the work is done. Brooks sighs but smiles. "Then let's keep working." Across the country, cities call for her guidance. Chicago requests her reform blueprint. Los Angeles asks her to speak. Washington invites her to testify before Congress. The national spotlight grows, but Danielle never loses focus on Atlanta. At the next community town hall, she tells residents, "I am your chief, not a celebrity. My duty is here, with you, and together we will keep building." The hall erupts in applause. Parents bring children to meet her, snapping photos. One young boy whispers, "You're braver than Superman." Danielle kneels, smiling. "No, I'm just someone who refused to be silent, and so are you." Meanwhile, Hale's trial looms. Prosecutors prepare charges ranging from conspiracy to terrorism. His lawyer begs him to plead guilty. Hale refuses, muttering, "She won't win." But everyone knows she already has. On the night before the trial, Riverton Plaza fills again with candles. This time, there is no fear, only celebration. Choirs sing, families hold hands, children lead chants, not invisible, strong. Danielle stands quietly at the edge, watching the sea of light. She doesn't take the stage. She doesn't need to. The people's voices carry the message louder than she ever could. Brooks joins her, eyes scanning the glowing plaza. "You realize, Chief, this isn't just a city movement anymore. It's national, maybe even global." Danielle nods. "That's the point. Dignity doesn't belong to Atlanta. It belongs to everyone." The chants grow louder, candles blazing like stars. Danielle breathes deeply, letting the moment sink in. Because arrogance once thought it could slam dignity against a car. But dignity rose, stood tall, and lit a city. And now it burns too bright for shadows to touch. The courthouse is swarmed. Reporters crowd the steps, cameras flash in every direction, and protesters chant on both sides of the barricades. On one side, supporters of Chief Carter wave signs, "Dignity wins, justice for Atlanta." On the other, a smaller group of Hale's loyalists shout angrily, "Bring back the captain!" Inside, the trial begins. Richard Hale sits at the defense table, his once proud frame slouched, his eyes shadowed with sleepless nights. Across the room, federal prosecutors organize stacks of evidence, blueprints, weapons, screenshots of his forum posts. The judge enters. Court is now in session. The prosecution wastes no time. In opening statements, they paint a damning picture, a disgraced captain who allowed arrogance and bitterness to consume him, conspiring to incite violence at a peaceful vigil. "This is not about one bad choice," the prosecutor declares. "This is about a man who thought his badge gave him power over dignity, and when he lost that badge, he tried to destroy dignity itself." Hale's lawyer counters weakly, claiming his client was pressured by extremists, that he never intended actual harm. But the evidence is overwhelming. The jury leans forward, taking notes as exhibits flash across screens. Among the first witnesses called is Lieutenant Brooks. He testifies firmly, describing the night of the vigil, the credible threat, and the FBI sting. "We didn't just arrest a man," Brooks tells the jury. "We stopped a tragedy." Then, the prosecution calls Chief Danielle Carter. Gasps ripple through the courtroom as she rises, her presence commanding. Dressed in her uniform, she takes the stand with calm composure. The prosecutor begins. "Chief Carter, can you describe your interactions with Richard Hale?" She nods. "On the night before my swearing in, Captain Hale assaulted me in public, slamming me against my car without cause. He mocked me, called me you people, and placed me in handcuffs unlawfully. That video went viral, and the world saw the truth of his arrogance." The prosecutor asks, "And after his suspension?" Danielle's voice steadies. "He escalated. He aligned himself with extremists, allowed their hatred to fester, and participated in planning an attack on a peaceful vigil attended by thousands, including children. If not stopped, people would have died. The courtroom is silent, every eye fixed on her. Hale's lawyer rises for cross-examination. Chief Carter, isn't it true that you benefited from these events? That without Captain Hale's actions, you wouldn't have the national platform you enjoy today? The question is sharp, but Danielle doesn't flinch. I never asked for arrogance to strike me. I never wanted humiliation to spark this movement. But if arrogance gave me a platform, I used it for one purpose, to lift up the people who had been ignored for too long. That's not benefit, that's responsibility. The jury nods subtly, impressed. Outside the courthouse, the trial dominates headlines. News anchors analyze every word, every reaction. One commentator says, Hale is not just on trial for his actions. Symbolically, arrogance itself is on trial. Inside, the prosecution unveils damning digital evidence. Hale's posts on extremist forums, his silence as others plotted, his presence at the warehouse meetings. Each message flashes across the screen. She's not fit to lead. The department is collapsing under her watch. The prosecutor slams the point home. Words matter. Silence matters. And Richard Hale's silence in the face of violence was not innocence. It was consent. Hale shifts uncomfortably, sweat beading on his forehead. The trial lasts for days. Witness after witness testifies. FBI agents, community leaders, even parents who attended the vigil. Each story adds weight to the scales of justice. Finally, closing arguments arrive. The prosecutor's voice booms through the courtroom. This case is about choice. Richard Hale chose arrogance over dignity, fear over hope, destruction over justice, and now it's time for accountability. Hale's lawyer pleads for leniency, claiming his client is a broken man, but the jury's expressions remain unmoved. Deliberations last only 4 hours. The courtroom fills as the foreperson rises. On all counts, conspiracy, attempted terrorism, abuse of authority, we find the defendant, Richard Hale, guilty. Gasps erupt. Cheers echo outside the courthouse. Reporters race to broadcast the verdict. Hale found guilty on all counts. Hale's face collapses. He mutters, "It wasn't supposed to end like this." Marshals move to escort him away. In the hallway, Danielle addresses the cameras. Justice was served today, but this is not the end. Arrogance is not one man, it's a culture. And we will keep fighting until dignity is the only badge this department wears. The crowd outside erupts in chants. Dignity wins! Dignity wins! That night, Riverton Plaza glows once more. Families gather, candles in hand, not in fear this time, but in celebration. Children laugh, music plays, and banners wave. Justice delivered. Danielle stands at the edge, watching the sea of light. Brooks joins her. "It's over, Chief. Hale's finished." She shakes her head softly. Hale is finished. But arrogance. Arrogance always tries to find another face. That's why we stay vigilant. The candles flicker like stars across the city, because arrogance thought a trial would save it. But dignity carried the verdict. And the jury of history always sides with justice. The courthouse steps are still buzzing with chants when news of Hale's guilty verdict sweeps the country. By evening, every major network broadcasts the story side by side with the viral video of him slamming Danielle against her car months earlier. Commentators describe it as a full-circle moment in the battle between arrogance and dignity. Inside her office, Danielle watches quietly. She doesn't smile, doesn't gloat. Her hands are folded, her gaze steady. Brooks stands beside her, breaking the silence. "Chief, you just won one of the most important cases this city has ever seen." Danielle shakes her head. "The city won, the people won, but I can't celebrate, not yet. Hale was a symptom, not the disease." Brooks nods, understanding. "Then we go after the disease." The next morning, Danielle unveils her boldest reform yet, the Dignity Accord. The initiative requires every officer to sign a pledge committing to accountability, respect, and transparency. Those who refuse must resign. The announcement shakes the department. Officers line up to sign, some proudly, others reluctantly. A handful storm out, slamming their badges on the desk. Danielle doesn't chase them. If dignity is too heavy a badge, she tells the press, then it was never theirs to wear. News spreads fast. Cities across America call to request copies of the accord. Civil rights leaders praise her, calling it the blueprint for national change. But critics howl louder too. Talk radio hosts accuse her of destroying policing. Politicians debate her policies on the Senate floor. Danielle stays focused. Reform isn't supposed to be comfortable, she tells her team. If it doesn't rattle the walls, it isn't real. Meanwhile, Hale sits in a prison cell awaiting sentencing. His fall from captain to convict is complete, yet even behind bars, his bitterness festers. Other inmates whisper his name, some treating him like a folk hero, others mocking him. Hale stews in silence, muttering, "She hasn't beaten me. Not yet." Back in Atlanta, the community feels the shift. At a local high school, students form a new club called Strong Voices, inspired by Danielle's words. They organize debates, write letters to city officials, and march for justice. One student tells a reporter, "She showed us we're not invisible. Now it's our turn to show the world." Danielle attends their first meeting. When she walks into the classroom, the students erupt in cheers. She smiles softly, humbled. "You don't need me to lead you," she tells them. "You already have voices strong enough to change the world." The moment goes viral. Clips of Danielle surrounded by teenagers, all chanting "Not invisible, strong," trend across social media. But shadows linger. FBI agents brief Danielle on extremist chatter online. Some of Hale's supporters haven't given up, an agent warns. They see him as a martyr now. They're angry and they're planning. Danielle exhales slowly. "Then we plan harder. Fear won't dictate our future." To strengthen community trust, she orders open forums every Friday night. Anyone can walk into headquarters and speak directly to officers. The first night, the room is packed. A young mother stands up, tears in her eyes. "My son used to flinch whenever he saw a squad car. Last week, an officer knelt down and gave him a high five. He came home smiling. 'Thank you, Chief.'" Danielle's throat tightens, but she keeps her composure. That's what dignity looks like in practice, one child, one smile at a time. Outside, however, counter-protests simmer. A group of Hale loyalists march with signs. "Carter is weak." They chant angrily, but their voices are drowned out by a larger crowd chanting, "Dignity has the badge," Brooks observes from the sidelines. They're getting smaller. The louder dignity grows, the weaker arrogance becomes. Still, Danielle knows arrogance rarely fades quietly. That night, a threatening letter is slipped under her office door. "This isn't over, we're waiting." She reads it, then pins it to her bulletin board alongside the burned scissors and the anonymous notes she saved. Each one a reminder of the fight. Each one fuel. At home, she finally allows herself a rare moment of reflection. Sitting at her kitchen table, she looks at a photo of her younger self in uniform. Fresh-faced, hopeful, unscarred. She whispers, "You had no idea what was coming, but you were ready for it." The next morning, she returns to work, more determined than ever. She announces the creation of a new division, the Office of Accountability and Community Justice. Staffed by both officers and civilians, it will investigate every complaint, past and present. The city erupts in applause. Editorials declare Atlanta is leading the nation. Other police chiefs call her privately, some with support, others with resentment. One warns, "You're making enemies you don't even see." Danielle replies calmly, "If I'm not making enemies, I'm not doing my job." That evening, Riverton Plaza glows again with candles. This time, children lead the chants, their voices echoing, "Not invisible, strong." The sound is pure, unshakable. Because arrogance thought a guilty verdict would end the story. But dignity knew better. Dignity doesn't stop with a trial. It builds, brick by brick, voice by voice, until the foundation is unshakable. And in Atlanta, that foundation has only just begun. Weeks pass, but the fire of the movement doesn't fade. It spreads. Across America, cities echo Atlanta's reforms. New York announces its own community partnership program. Chicago launches transparency boards modeled after Danielle's. Even small towns adopt the Dignity Accord. National headlines call it the Carter Ripple. Editorials praise her as the reformer America needed. But with recognition comes pressure. Danielle testifies before Congress, cameras flashing as she takes the oath. Senators ask tough questions, some praising her, others trying to corner her. "Chief Carter," one senator says sharply, "critics claim your reforms weaken policing. They say criminals are emboldened. How do you respond?" Danielle leans into the microphone, her voice steady. "Accountability doesn't weaken policing. It strengthens it. Fear doesn't keep communities safe. Trust does. And when dignity leads, crime falls because communities rise." Applause breaks out in the chamber, unusual in such hearings. Clips go viral within hours. Back in Atlanta, her officers feel the shift. For the first time in years, They walk into neighborhoods without hostility. Children wave instead of hiding. Store owners greet them with handshakes. One officer tells Brooks, "It feels like we finally belong here." Brooks smiles. "That's because for the first time, we actually do." Still, arrogance searches for cracks. FBI agents inform Danielle of continued chatter online. Extremists circulate Hale's image, branding him a martyr. Some plan rallies in his name. Danielle doesn't ignore it. She calls a press briefing. "Hale is no martyr," she declares firmly. "He is a convicted criminal who chose arrogance over justice. Let no one mistake that truth." Her bluntness earns headlines again. Carter cuts through martyr myth. Meanwhile, Hale's sentencing approaches. The courthouse buzzes once more. Protesters on both sides fill the steps. Danielle doesn't attend, but she watches from her office. The judge delivers the sentence: life in prison without parole. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Some of Hale's supporters cry out in anger. But the decision is final. In his cell that night, Hale sits in silence. His empire of fear is gone. His followers scatter. His bitterness remains, but the world no longer listens. Back in Atlanta, the sentencing sparks yet another vigil. This one feels different, less angry, more celebratory. Families bring guitars, choirs sing, children dance. Reporters describe it as a vigil of victory. Danielle attends quietly, standing among the crowd. A little girl tugs at her sleeve. "Chief Carter, is it over now?" Danielle kneels, meeting her eyes. For Hale, yes, but dignity's work never ends. We keep building. We keep standing. The girl nods solemnly, clutching her candle tighter. At headquarters, Danielle pushes reforms further. She launches the Youth Partnership Initiative, pairing officers with schools to mentor students. If children grow up seeing dignity in uniform, she tells her staff, then arrogance won't have a chance to root itself. The program thrives. Officers coach sports teams, tutor after school, attend graduations. Photos flood social media, smiling kids with officers at their side. The city beams with pride. But late one night, Brooks bursts into her office with urgent news. "Chief, we intercepted chatter. Some of Hale's former allies are regrouping. They're angry about his life sentence. They want revenge." Danielle exhales slowly. Arrogance always looks for a new mask. Then we'll unmask it. She orders the FBI task force expanded, resources doubled. Community leaders are warned. Security at vigils is tightened. Yet she refuses to cancel a single event. "If we step back, fear wins," she tells Brooks, and dignity never retreats. Meanwhile, the mayor nominates Danielle for a National Policing Award. At the ceremony in Washington, she delivers a speech that electrifies the audience. "They thought humiliation would silence me. They thought threats would scare me. They thought arrogance could survive in the shadows. But arrogance has no badge anymore. Dignity does. And dignity is the future of this nation." Thunderous applause fills the hall. Senators, governors, community leaders rise to their feet. The clip trends instantly. Captioned, "Carter defines the future." Back home, Atlanta continues to glow. Riverton Plaza becomes a symbol of resilience, a place where families gather not just for vigils, but for celebrations. Murals of Danielle adorn walls across the city, her holding a candle, her words painted above, "Not invisible, strong." At her office window, Danielle watches the city lights flicker. Brooks steps in, carrying the latest reports. "Chief, crime rates are down, complaints are down, trust is higher than it's ever been. We're winning." Danielle nods, though her eyes remain serious. "We're winning battles, but arrogance is patient, it waits. That's why we keep moving." She glances again at the evidence board pinned to her wall, the scissors, the letters, the threats. Each reminder fuels her resolve, because arrogance once thought a courtroom could save it, but dignity proved stronger, steadier, louder. And in Atlanta, the movement has only just begun to roar. The ripple of Atlanta's reforms grows into waves. Cities across the country adopt versions of the Dignity Accord. Some rename it, some adjust it, but the foundation remains the same: accountability, transparency, and respect. For Danielle, it feels like a victory, but she knows victories bring new battles. One evening, she sits in her office reading an FBI report. Across the country, extremist groups are furious at Hale's life sentence. They circulate propaganda, painting him as a fallen warrior. Danielle sighs, tracing the words with her finger. Arrogance never dies. It just looks for a new stage. Brooks knocks and steps in. Chief, you've got to see this. He holds up a tablet showing a live broadcast. A fringe rally is unfolding in another state. Dozens wave signs with Hale's face, chanting his name. Speakers shout into microphones, calling Danielle the enemy of real policing. She watches calmly. They think shouting makes them strong, but arrogance always mistakes noise for power. The next morning, Danielle holds a press conference. Cameras flash as she speaks directly to the nation. I see the rallies, I hear the chants, but hear me clearly. Richard Hale is no hero. He is a convicted criminal who tried to attack families, children, and a city standing for justice. If you call him a martyr, you are defending hate. And hate has no badge, no power, and no future. The clip dominates headlines. Commentators describe her tone as surgical, cutting through extremist narratives. Hashtags trend, hat no badge. For hate, hashtag Carter cuts through. Back at headquarters, the reforms deepen. Danielle orders a full audit of officer promotions, uncovering decades of favoritism and bias. She replaces the old system with a merit-based structure measured by community trust and accountability scores. Some grumble, but younger officers cheer. For once, hard work matters, one says. Still, danger lurks. One night, a protest outside headquarters turns violent when Hale loyalists clash with Carter supporters. Rocks shatter windows, sirens wail, and officers scramble to restore order. Danielle watches from inside, her jaw tight. She refuses to hide. Stepping outside, she takes a megaphone. Her voice cuts through the chaos. Stop this! This is not who we are. You can scream, you can chant, you can disagree, but you will not destroy this city. Not tonight, not ever. Atlanta belongs to dignity. The crowd pauses. Slowly, chants of dignity, dignity rise louder than the jeers. The violence fades, the loyalists retreat, and the night ends in chants instead of chaos. Reporters hail it as the night Chief Carter faced rage with resolve. Meanwhile, Hale adjusts to life behind bars. Once feared, now forgotten, he paces his cell muttering. Some inmates mock him. Hey, Captain, where's your badge now? Others ignore him entirely. His bitterness festers, but his influence outside weakens each day. Danielle focuses on the next phase, youth outreach. She visits schools weekly, speaking directly to students. At one high school, she tells them, when arrogance tried to silence me, I chose to speak louder. When they tried to break me, I stood taller. You can too. Never let anyone cut your dignity. The students rise, applauding. A young boy stands and says, Chief Carter, I used to think cops were the enemy. Now I want to wear the badge. Her heart swells, but she replies firmly, then wear it for dignity, because a badge without dignity is just metal. Clips of the speech go viral, inspiring a wave of applications to the city's youth cadet program. At the same time, Danielle creates a civilian training council, allowing residents to learn police procedures, ride along on patrols, and give feedback. The move shocks critics but thrills citizens. One mother tells reporters, for the first time, I feel like the police see us as partners, not problems. The city flourishes. Crime rates continue to fall, complaints drop, and trust climbs higher than anyone predicted. Yet Danielle remains cautious. One evening, she stands at her office window, looking down at Riverton Plaza glowing with another vigil. Brooks enters quietly. You've done it, Chief. Atlanta's changed. She shakes her head slowly. Atlanta's healing. Change never ends. Arrogance is patient. It waits for silence. That's why we keep speaking. He nods, then sets a fresh report on her desk. There's chatter again. A small group talking about finishing Hale's mission. Danielle exhales, steady but unyielding. Then we make sure they never get the chance. Not here, not anywhere. The candles outside flicker brighter, voices chanting in the night. Not invisible, strong. Because arrogance thought Hale's name would live on. But dignity drowns it out, louder each day. And the louder dignity grows, the harder it is for shadows to whisper. Winter settles over Atlanta, but the city's spirit burns hotter than ever. Snow dusts the rooftops, and yet Riverton Plaza glows nightly with candles. The chants of dignity has the badge, echoing into the cold air. Chief Danielle Carter pushes forward, refusing to slow. She knows momentum is fragile. If we pause, she tells Brooks, arrogance will find its breath again. The FBI task force briefs her weekly. Reports confirm that while Hale's prison sentence has weakened his influence, a pocket of loyalists remain active online. They circulate Hale's old speeches, edit videos to twist the story, and whisper about revenge. Brooks lays a file on her desk. They call themselves the Shield, small but angry. Their goal is to restore Hale's honor. Danielle studies the file carefully. Arrogance always needs a new mask, then we'll tear this one off too. Meanwhile, the reforms keep blooming. The Civilian Training Council launches its first ride-alongs, and the response is overwhelming. Citizens flood social media with stories of officers listening, learning, and explaining their work. One viral video shows an officer patiently answering a child's questions during patrol. The caption reads, "This is what policing should be, but shadows stir." One icy morning, a brick crashes through the window of headquarters. Attached is a note scrawled in black marker. "Dignity dies next." Officers scramble, but Danielle remains calm. She pins the note to her evidence board beside the others. "Chief," Brooks says sternly, "this is escalating." "I know," Danielle replies, "and that means we're hitting arrogance where it hurts." Later that day, she addresses her officers in the briefing room. Her voice is sharp, cutting through the tension. "If anyone here thinks fear will stop this department, you're in the wrong uniform. We serve the people. We serve dignity, and no brick, no threat, no whisper will change that." The room erupts in applause, even from skeptics who once doubted her. Meanwhile, Hale sits in his cell, staring at the wall. Rumors of the Shield reach him through hushed conversations and smuggled notes. He feels a flicker of pride, then frustration. "They're fighting for me," he mutters, "but I can't fight for myself." His words echo into emptiness. Back in Atlanta, Danielle attends a community forum at a local church. Families pack the pews, candles glowing at the altar. A mother stands, her voice trembling. "Chief Carter, my daughter used to cry when she saw police cars. Now she says she wants to be an officer. You've given her hope." Danielle's throat tightens. She steps closer, speaking gently. "Your daughter is proof that dignity works, and she will never cry at the sight of a badge again." Applause fills the church. Cameras capture the moment, and by morning, the clip trends under #hope in uniform. But the Shield grows bolder. FBI intel warns of a planned disruption at the next vigil. Brooks urges caution. "Chief, we should cancel, or at least scale it down." Danielle shakes her head. "If we cancel, we hand arrogance a victory. We'll go forward, stronger." The night arrives. Riverton Plaza is packed, candles flickering in the winter wind. Danielle steps onto the stage, her breath visible in the cold. Her voice carries over the crowd. "They told us winter would freeze us. But look around, our fire burns brighter. They told us threats would silence us. But we are louder. They told us dignity would fall. But here we stand." Cheers thunder, echoing across the city. In the shadows, members of the Shield move, trying to blend with the crowd. But plainclothes agents are ready. At Brooks's signal, they swoop in, arrests swift and silent. The crowd barely notices, their chants drowning out the chaos. The next morning, headlines blaze. "Extremist plot foiled at vigil." Commentators hail the operation as proof that dignity is winning not just hearts, but battles. At headquarters, Brooks grins. "We caught them all, Chief, every last one." Danielle nods, though her eyes are steady, not triumphant. "Not every last one. Arrogance will try again. That's why we keep building." She turns back to her office window, watching the city lights. Children's voices echo faintly from the plaza. "Not invisible. Strong." Because arrogance thought winter would silence the fire. But dignity burned hotter, brighter, unstoppable. And the flames of justice lit the night. The arrest of the Shield makes national headlines. News anchors call it the collapse of Hale's last shadow. Editorials praise the coordination between Chief Carter, the FBI, and community leaders. Yet Danielle knows better than to celebrate too long. "Arrogance doesn't disappear," she tells Brooks. "It waits for silence. That's why we must never be silent." The city, however, breathes easier. Vigils continue, but now they feel more like celebrations than protests. Families bring guitars, children dance, food trucks line the edges of Riverton Plaza. What began in anger now feels like a festival of resilience. Danielle attends quietly, often without speaking. She prefers to let the people lead. One evening, she watches as teenagers chant her words without prompting. "Not invisible, strong." She whispers to herself, "It belongs to them now. That's how I know it will last." Meanwhile, Hale's life behind bars deteriorates. Once a man who commanded fear, he now commands only pity. Fellow inmates mock him. "Hey, Captain, tell us about dignity." While guards treat him as just another number, alone in his cell, he replays his downfall over and over. His muttered refrain never changes. It should have been me. Back in Atlanta, Danielle launches the Children's Bill of Rights for Education and Safety, a partnership between schools and law enforcement. It guarantees every child the right to be treated with respect, to report bullying or harassment safely, and to see officers as protectors, not predators. The initiative makes waves nationwide. Commentators call it the next frontier of the Carter Standard. Parents flood town halls with support. Children carry small booklets of their new rights, proudly showing them off. But with progress comes backlash. Critics claim she's overstepping, turning police into social workers. Danielle answers bluntly at a press conference, "If preventing harm to children is overstepping, then I will overstep every single day. Because dignity doesn't start at 18, it starts at birth." The clip goes viral, embraced by millions. Still, threats lurk. FBI agents show Danielle fresh chatter online. Small extremist splinters, angry, leaderless, continue to whisper about revenge. "They're fractured," an agent says, "but fractured glass still cuts." Danielle nods. "Then we wear armor of dignity." To fortify trust, she organizes unity patrols where officers from different backgrounds pair up and patrol together. Black with white, male with female, veteran with rookie. The symbolism is clear. Policing must reflect the people it serves. The public loves it. Photos flood social media of diverse pairs walking neighborhoods, waving, laughing with residents. Trust deepens. Complaints continue to fall, but arrogance isn't done. One night, graffiti appears across the city. "Hail lives." Spray painted on walls, bus stops, even near schools. Fear flickers again. Reporters ask if she's worried. Danielle stands before the cameras, unshaken. "Let them paint walls. Dignity paints futures. A spray can cannot erase a movement." Her words resonate, turning fear into resolve. Volunteers organize cleanup drives, scrubbing walls and repainting them with murals of candles, children, and the words "not invisible, strong." Hale sees photos of the murals in prison newspapers. Rage consumes him. He punches his cell wall until his knuckles bleed. Guards drag him to medical, ignoring his mutters. "She stole everything." Meanwhile, Danielle faces a personal moment. At a private dinner, her mother tells her softly, "Baby, you've carried this city for months. Don't lose yourself." Danielle exhales, eyes heavy. "Sometimes I wonder if I already have, but then I hear those children chanting and I know it's worth every scar." Her mother squeezes her hand. "Just remember, dignity isn't only for the city, it's for you too." The next day, Danielle takes a rare morning off, walking through a park quietly. Children run past, laughing. One little boy stops, salutes her clumsily, and says, "Thank you, Chief." She kneels, smiling softly. "Thank you, young man. You're why I do this." The boy grins and runs off. Danielle watches, her heart steady. That evening, Riverton Plaza glows once more. Choirs sing, families dance, banners wave. Danielle takes the stage briefly, her voice calm but strong. "They said dignity would fade. Look around you. Does this look faded? They said arrogance would rise again. Look around you. Do you see arrogance here? No, you see light. You see strength. You see dignity, alive and unshakable." The crowd erupts. Candles blaze higher. Chants thunder. Dignity lives. Dignity leads. Because arrogance tried to outlast justice. But dignity proved eternal. And in Atlanta, eternal light burns brighter than any shadow. Spring arrives in Atlanta, and with it a new sense of renewal. The trees lining Riverton Plaza bloom pink and white, a stark contrast to the winter nights when candles alone lit the square. Now, sunlight and song fill the air. What began as a movement of survival has become a culture of celebration. Chief Danielle Carter walks the plaza one Saturday morning unannounced. Families picnic on the grass where once they chanted through tears. Children play tag around the fountain. One girl, no older than 7, chases her friend while yelling, "Not invisible! Strong!" as if it were just another childhood game. Danielle smiles softly. They've turned survival into joy. That's how you know change is real. Yet even in joy, vigilance remains. FBI reports continue to warn about scattered cells of Hale's supporters. Though weakened, they persist in online corners, whispering about revenge. Brooks briefs Danielle in her office. "They're fractured," he explains, "but sometimes fractured glass cuts the deepest. We can't underestimate them." Danielle nods firmly. "Then we stay sharper than the shards." Meanwhile, her reforms continue expanding. The Office of Accountability and Community Justice releases its first annual report. Complaints against officers have dropped by half. Use of force incidents are down dramatically. Public trust ratings soar to historic highs. News outlets call it the Carter model. Commentators debate whether it can be scaled nationally. Some praise her as a visionary, others call her too radical. Danielle remains steady. This isn't radical, this is basic humanity. Respect shouldn't be revolutionary. At City Hall, the mayor beams with pride. Chief, you've done in 1 year what most couldn't do in a decade. But Danielle shakes her head. We've started, that's all. Change never ends. Meanwhile, Hale rots in prison. The once commanding captain is now a hollow figure pacing his cell. He scribbles bitter letters no one answers, muttering to himself. Some inmates mock him openly. Hey, Captain, still waiting for dignity? Others ignore him entirely. His relevance has evaporated, but his bitterness lingers. In Atlanta, Danielle launches a new initiative, the National Day of Dignity. Inspired by the children's chants, it's set for the anniversary of her assault, the day arrogance tried to break her. Instead of pain, she turns it into purpose. Schools will hold assemblies, communities will host vigils, and families will gather to affirm dignity together. The announcement electrifies the city. Teachers design lesson plans. Churches prepare services. Neighborhoods plan parades. From trauma to tradition, one newspaper declares, Chief Carter transforms pain into legacy. Still, critics push back. A national commentator sneers, she's turning policing into pageantry. Danielle answers calmly at a press briefing. If honoring dignity is pageantry, then may the parade never end. Her words trend instantly, embraced nationwide. As the first National Day of Dignity approaches, excitement grows. Riverton Plaza prepares for its largest gathering yet. Thousands plan to attend. Musicians, poets, and community leaders line up to speak. The night arrives. The plaza glows with lanterns strung from trees, candles on every step, families shoulder to shoulder. The crowd stretches farther than the eye can see. Cameras broadcast live across the country. Danielle takes the stage, her presence steady, her voice carrying. 1 year ago, arrogance tried to silence me. It slammed me against a car, mocked my identity, and thought humiliation would break me. But look around you tonight. Did humiliation win? No, the crowd roars. Did arrogance win? No. Who won? Dignity, the crowd thunders. Danielle raises her candle high. This day isn't about me. It's about every person who has ever been told they don't belong, every child who has ever felt invisible, every voice ever silenced. Tonight we say together, not invisible, strong. The chant erupts, tens of thousands of voices in unison. Children wave signs, choirs sing, drums beat. Across America, similar gatherings echo the chant. Videos pour in from Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, cities holding their own vigils. The movement has gone national. From her office later, Danielle watches the news. Footage shows millions participating coast to coast. Tears prick her eyes, but she whispers steadily, "It belongs to them now, and that means it will last." Brooks enters, carrying reports. "Chief, we've just made history. The first National Day of Dignity was a success." Danielle nods. "Not history, foundation. The work continues. Because arrogance thought trauma would define Atlanta. But dignity turned trauma into tradition. And tradition is harder to break than fear." The morning after the first National Day of Dignity, Atlanta wakes to silence. Not the silence of fear, but the quiet peace of renewal. Streets are calm, neighborhoods glow with lanterns still hanging from trees, and families talk about the chants that shook the city the night before. Headlines across America read the same. From assault to accord, Chief Carter redefines policing. News anchors call it a legacy written in firelight. Commentators argue about her policies, but none can deny the transformation. In her office, Danielle studies a stack of fresh reports. Crime continues to fall. Complaints remain low. Community trust reaches record highs. She exhales slowly, not with relief, but with determination. "We are not finished," she reminds herself. "Dignity is never finished." Brooks enters, holding coffee. "Chief, you realize what you've done? You've changed the blueprint. Other cities are copying us. Congress is drafting bills with your words in them. The Carter Doctrine is becoming law." Danielle shakes her head softly. "It's not my doctrine. It's theirs. The people wrote this story. I just refused to stay silent when arrogance tried to steal the pen. Meanwhile, in a distant prison, Richard Hale stares at a flickering TV in the common room. The broadcast shows clips of the National Day of Dignity, thousands chanting Danielle's words, murals of candles, children waving signs. Inmates snicker, pointing. "That's your legacy, Captain? She erased you." Hale doesn't respond. He turns away, muttering to himself, "She didn't erase me. They just don't remember yet." But his voice lacks conviction. His time has ended, and deep down he knows it. Back in Atlanta, Danielle visits Riverton Plaza. It is empty now, lanterns swaying gently in the breeze. She walks slowly to the fountain, remembering the first vigil, the fear, the anger, the raw pain. Then she looks around, seeing joy, murals, and children's laughter etched into the stones of the square. Brooks joins her, quiet at first. "It's hard to believe this is the same place we stood a year ago." Danielle nods. "It isn't the same. The plaza changed because the people changed. Fear lost its grip here." She kneels and lights a single candle, setting it by the fountain. "For everyone who once felt invisible," she whispers. That evening, she addresses the city one final time in a televised speech. The cameras focus close as she stands tall, her uniform gleaming, her voice steady. A year ago, arrogance thought it could slam dignity against a car and silence it. But arrogance was wrong. Dignity rose. Dignity stood. And dignity spoke until the whole city heard. Tonight, we close one chapter. But the fight for dignity never ends. Because arrogance is patient, but so are we, and we will always be louder. The city listens in silence, then erupts in cheers. Across the country, people applaud in their living rooms, in schools, in churches. Her words echo far beyond Atlanta. Later that night, Danielle sits at her desk alone. She looks at the evidence board she kept. Burned scissors, hateful letters, threats, and photos. One by one, she removes them, placing them into a box labeled history. She leaves one paper pinned, 3 words written in bold marker, not invisible. Strong. As she stares at it, her phone buzzes. A message from a teacher. "My students started a dignity club today. They said if kids can carry the torch, no one can put it out." Danielle smiles for the first time in days. That's the legacy, she thinks. Not me, them. At midnight, Riverton Plaza glows again. Not from candles, but from floodlights installed permanently. The city has declared it a monument to dignity. On its steps, a plaque is unveiled. Here, arrogance fell. Here, dignity rose. May it burn forever. Danielle visits the monument in silence, placing her hand on the plaque. She closes her eyes, remembering the night she was slammed against her car, mocked and cuffed. She remembers the pain, the humiliation. Then she opens her eyes to the light flooding the square, and she knows. Arrogance lost forever here. Brooks walks up behind her. "So, Chief, does it feel over?" Danielle shakes her head, gazing at the lights. "It will never be over. Dignity isn't a finish line. It's a fight we carry every day. But tonight, yes. It feels like justice finally stood tall. The city sleeps peacefully under the glow of the monument. Children dream of futures where dignity is the norm, not the fight. Officers patrol with respect. Citizens walk without fear, and the shadows that once whispered arrogance grow quieter by the day. Because arrogance thought it could end a story with violence, but dignity wrote the ending instead. One lit by candles, carried by voices, and sealed by justice. And in Atlanta, justice has a new name: dignity.